and Democrats are a uniparty, so I think they're both corrupt. But it's to me, it's fascinating to see another country basically interfering in the United States, and in the United States election, when you literally have the Trudeau government speaking out ahead of primaries in the United States about Donald Trump. Is that not election meddling in the United States? Neighbors don't do that to other neighbors. Like, why are they doing that right now? We'll look at Canada in just a moment. Blackouts across Alberta, electric cars that won't start, a doctor shortage, a massive deficit. You'd think Canada has a lot of problems, but no, the number one problem Canada has is Donald Trump. That's right. That's why the Justin Trudeau government over the past few days has gone on an off-site retreat, a 3-day meeting with his cabinet. Top on the agenda is Donald Trump. What if Donald Trump wins in 2024? It's the greatest threat to Canada that you've ever seen before. David Kraydon is Canadian. He's been hiding in his bunker, scared to death of what a Donald Trump presidency would mean for Canada. I mean, you can't make this up, David. I just when I thought that the Trudeau government maybe would start to put Canadians first again. No, they're putting them last in order to worry about what's going on in the United States. What in the world is the Trudeau government doing at this secret off-site meeting?
Well, clearly, the Trudeau government is more worried about Donald Trump than they are about the impending doom for this government. In the last couple of weeks, Justin Trudeau has been talking about his conservative opposition as MAGA-style Republicans. So I guess we shouldn't be surprised he's now obsessing over Donald Trump. On the day that Donald Trump won the Iowa caucuses, he steamrolled over the opposition. He won over 50% of the vote. Justin Trudeau did an interview in French only, which is why it really hasn't had the traction a lot of his comments have. And he said that another Donald Trump presidency would be bad for Canada, that it would be something he would have to survive, but it would be bad for Canada. This is clearly interference in the U.S. primaries, and it's direct interference in the American election. Something the Americans did in 1963 when they didn't want John Diefenbaker to win that election. A lot of Canadians objected to that. So why is Justin Trudeau interfering in the U.S. election? Why is he so obsessed with Donald Trump? Because clearly he wants another distraction with Donald Trump. He has a lot of distractions in this country, so Canadians don't focus on the disaster that Justin Trudeau has created for this country with the economy, with a euthanasia program, with support for Ukraine that is bankrupting our own military, and with an obsession with climate change, an obsession with environmental extremism that is causing rolling blackouts in the winter in Alberta because their electrical grid cannot sustain the need for power when minus 40 temperatures. So this is a distraction for Justin Trudeau, clearly. But he's obsessed with Donald Trump. There's no question about it.
So in this sort of private meeting here with his cabinet, we get to hear the public side of it, what he says on television. But I can only imagine, I mean, I don't know if you got any sources on this, but what they're kind of talking about behind closed doors from his liberal government, like, what are they planning to do if Trump becomes president? I mean, I know they must be concerned about a couple of key issues, right? I mean, I'm sure they're concerned about what Trump plans to do on the green agenda, number one. I mean, Trump has already said he's going to completely upend the apple cart on Biden's green agenda, which is just a boondoggle for windmill makers and solar panel makers. And we're seeing clearly what's happening in Canada, that these technologies don't work at scale. Sure, they're fine for, like, you want to power, a water heater for a little bit. No. But to run an entire economy, run an entire country on solar power does not work. And so I think, is that perhaps the biggest threat to Canada right now? What Biden or what President Trump plans to do around the green agenda and all the money that would flow into Canada around that?
Clearly, I think that's the crux of the issue. As Trudeau did say that the one thing that he disagrees most with Donald Trump on is green energy and the need to fight this existential threat of climate change. So I think Donald Trump could well derail a lot of the environmental extremism that's going on in this country, that's causing catastrophe for the economy, and it's leading to people ultimately being forced to live without power or to drive their cars because of carbon taxes and regulations. But interestingly enough, there was an interview on CTV, which is Canada's probably most watched mainstream media television outlet, with, yes, Anthony Scaramucci. We haven't heard of him in years. He's been basically exiled from U.S. media. And it's interesting that Anthony Scaramucci, who you might recall, was very briefly the White House senior communications director under Donald Trump and has been a critic ever since his job imploded. But he has been on Canadian media quite frequently. And he was on CTV's Question Period yesterday to talk about Donald Trump. And he made some rather incredibly vacuous remarks about Trump. He claimed that Donald Trump is actually jealous of Justin Trudeau because of the prime minister's relative youthfulness and good looks. So if we could run that clip now.
My only thing I would say to your government is you survived it last time. You'll survive it this time. And remember, he can only be president for 4 more years. He's term limited out. I think it's unlikely that he makes it. But if he does make it, I do want to point out to your viewers that he's very jealous of Prime Minister Trudeau. He's younger and way better looking than the president. And I know the president very well. That superficial sort of stuff really bothers him. So he will be an antagonist to your leadership. And it could be as simple as that, just as a direct result of that.
So Donald Trump is really concerned about Justin Trudeau because he's handsome. That's the concern, according to Scaramucci.
Yeah, and of course he makes all kinds of accusations about Trump being not taken seriously by real Republicans. I guess he means the Rhino style Republicans when he says that. But clearly Justin Trudeau is making a boogeyman out of Donald Trump because he likes distractions. And it's interesting because the Trudeau government has been quoting a poll from Angus Reid, which is a fairly reputable organization in Canada. And they put out a poll that suggested Canadians were not excited about Donald Trump being reelected either. But the unsaid part of that poll, if you read the poll and not the headlines from the mainstream media and not the comments from Justin Trudeau and his cabinet ministers, is that a vast majority of Canadians agree with Donald Trump that there are problems with the integrity of the U.S. elections. So this is very interesting to me because they're suggesting that Donald Trump might be onto something when he questions the integrity of U.S. elections. And this to me suggests that they're not in Biden's pocket at all. In fact, only 53% of Canadians really like Joe Biden. And that's not really a vast majority. So I do think Justin Trudeau is obsessed with Donald Trump, and it strikes me as completely hypocritical because if you recall, when Donald Trump was president, Justin Trudeau was often prostrate at his feet, saying what a great president he was. And this poll also illustrates that very, very small majority of Canadians approve of Joe Biden. So it's really not an endorsement of Justin Trudeau's position that Donald Trump is a clear and present danger or some sort of existential threat to Canada, because people are not reading the whole poll. But Justin Trudeau is using this poll. He's using people like Anthony Scaramucci, who can always be relied upon to say bad things about Donald Trump, to interfere in the American election because he thinks it's a distraction from how he has badly managed the Canadian economy and Canadian society for the past 8 years, and that why he should not be given any more chances to bring catastrophe upon Canada. So that's what the Donald Trump strategy is all about. That's why they're meeting secretly to talk about Donald Trump, because they're not really worried about him getting reelected. What they want to do is use him to get Justin Trudeau reelected and the Liberal Party reelected. That's what the strategy here is. They're not really worried about Donald Trump. They know it'd be better for the Canadian economy than Joe Biden, who's been a disaster for the economy, who's been a disaster on open borders. This is all about Justin Trudeau. As everything Justin Trudeau does, it's always about the narcissistic Justin Trudeau.
And using Donald Trump as a boogeyman. Yeah, that's exactly the Democratic playbook in the United States. David Krayden, great to see you. Stay warm up there, surviving the blackouts. dealing with all of the Trudeau internet outages and electricity grid failures up there. So at least they've got that nipped in the bud, but Donald Trump is their biggest concern. David, great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Clayton. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, David. Thanks, David. And yeah, it's crazy to see the EVs that are all stranded up there, that a fleet of trucks, and Pierre, the conservative who's running against Trudeau.
Yes.
What would I say?
Pierre.
Why did I say that wrong?
I don't think I've said it out loud quite enough.
You're talking about Pierre Poilievre?
Yes. I was thinking Pierre. Anyway, he was out there the other day talking about, like, if you had an entire country running on these electrical fleets right now, you'd be devastated.
Yeah.
Hi, this is David Krayden from Krayden's Right and Stand on Guard. Join the resistance. Resolve to resist. Become a member of this station. I've been practicing journalism in one form or another for over 30 years. I've worked in print, radio, and television for a lot of prestigious publications and media outlets. I was an Armed Forces Public Affairs officer. I worked in Parliament Hill. I know how Ottawa works, and I know how corrupt federal government can be. But you can play a part in opposing Justin Trudeau's government and Justin Trudeau's plans for Canada. You can become a part of the Krayden's Right resistance. Now, I urge you today, please support this station in any way you can. Ring that bell, subscribe, because that ensures you're at least going to continue to be able to watch these episodes. You'll beat the algorithm. But more importantly, I need your financial support. I hate to ask, but that's what I'm doing. I made a decision to pursue independent media because I believed it was the best possible route for me to take as a journalist and as a concerned citizen of Canada. So you can become a part of that. And at only $5, you can become a part of that on YouTube, on Substack, and with Buy Me a Coffee, a one-time donation. But I need your support. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. If you've already done that, if you're already supporting the station, thank you. But if you haven't, make that decision today.